All right, so this lesson activity, understanding the number line. We have Nancy has to mark 1.5 and negative 1.5 on this number line. How many spaces does she need between the integers 1 and 2 and between negative 1 and negative 2 to show 1.5 and negative 1.5 on the number line? So what am I going to have to do? How many spaces am I going to have to mark between my whole integers in order to show 1.5 and negative 1.5? Go ahead and unmute and answer that question. What is my denominator here?
2.
2. So I'm going to have 2 parts to each whole in order to show halves, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yes. So 1.5 is going to be right here. And negative 1.5 is going to be right here. Correct?
Yes.
So 2 spaces is going to go in this box. Go ahead and type that in and then hit submit. And we're going to look at part B. For another question, Nancy needs to mark the numbers 1 1/3 and negative 1 1/3 on the number line. How many spaces does she need between 1 and 2 and between negative 1 and negative 2 so she can mark these numbers? How many spaces are we going to need between the holes for this problem? We're going to need 3. Yeah. So this one's a little bit harder to draw for me. I think the fourths are a lot easier. So we'll do 1, 2. Notice to make 3 spaces, I only need 2 marks, right? You notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So marking 1 1/3 is going to go right here. And negative 1 1/3 will go right here. So we have positive 1 1/3 and negative 1 1/3. Is there anybody that's confused about, whoops, that's an ugly 3 there, sorry. Anybody that's confused about why those are marked there? Everybody's good? And then 3 spaces should go in the box. Is there anybody that's confused? We're good?
No.
No, you're not good, or no, you're not confused? Not good or not confused?
Yeah, I'm not confused.
Perfect. Okay, so if you are confused, make sure you're asking the questions, okay? All right, so 3 spaces and then submit. And then we'll move to part C. Part C, Nancy has to mark 1 1/4 and negative 1 1/4 on the number line. How many spaces does she need to be able to do that between the whole number parts? So who can tell me that? How many spaces will she need?
4.
4. So I always do half, and then each one of these is half. And then half, each one is half. And that's not very scientific right there, I know, but we'll pretend like it's even. Okay, so those are fourths. And then if I'm going to mark my spots, I'm going to say 1 1/4 is right here. And negative 1 1/4 is right there. Is there anybody that's confused? And we have 4 spaces. And then go ahead and submit once you put the 4 spaces in there. And we'll move to part D. Am I going too fast? Or are we good?
We good.
Excellent. Which point represents the number 1/2 on this number line? So if we look at all those points, which one of those letters is at 1/2?
D.
D. So does everybody understand why that's D? That's at 1/2? Okay. If not, make sure you ask the question and go ahead and submit once you put in D. And then we'll look at point E. Don't be fooled by this one. This one's a little tricky. Which point represents the opposite of the number 1 1/2 on this number line? So don't be fooled. Which number is it? Or which letter is it that represents the opposite? Yep, A is correct. So the opposite of 1 1/2 is negative 1 1/2, and it would be right there. Go ahead and mark A and then hit submit. Part F says locate the point 3/4 on this number line and draw a dot on the correct position on the number line. So my number line's right here, 3/4, and they already have it divided for me into fourths, is right here. So 3/4 doesn't have any hole. It's 1, 2, 3/4. That's a positive 3/4 right there. Go ahead and mark that on your number line and then hit submit. Okay. Everybody still good? And then we're going to go to question G.
What was F?
F is 3/4. And it's right there on the number line. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then G, locate the opposite of the number 1 and 5/8. So what is the opposite of 1 and 5/8? What's the opposite of 1 and 5/8?
One, 5/8.
What kind of 1 and 5/8? The opposite is a negative, right? So -1 and 5/8 is going to be right there, because this whole has been divided into 8 equal parts, and we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. That's -1 and 5/8. Okay? Any questions on that one? No? All right. Moving on to the next one, which is part H. Locate the opposite of the number -1 and 2/3. So -1 and 2/3
Regular 1 and 2/3.
is going to be regular 1 and 2/3. Very good. And this vertical number line, remember that when we go up, I'm actually going to probably need to move that down a little bit. When we go up is the positive, right? So if we have a regular or positive 1 and 2/3, it's going to be 1, and this is 1/3, and this is 2/3. So right here is +1 and 2/3. Any questions on that one? Okay, I'm going to X that out. And we're going to move to question I. Locate the number 1.7 on this number line. So is that positive? Oh, the opposite of the number 1.7. So what is the opposite of 1.7? What's the opposite of that number?
The negative.
It's going to be a -1.7. And so -1.7 is -1. And then we have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tenths is over here. So -1.7 is right there. Any questions on that? Okay. So I'm going to, the last one is your self-assessment, and I want you to be honest right here. How do you understand what we just did? 1 means I'm really lost. I don't really get anything. 2, I might get a few things, but I would get pretty confused. 3, I probably could get it if someone was helping me. 4, I could get it by myself. And 5, I could teach the class. Mrs. Lickaboli, I don't need you. Pick which one it is, and then tell me why. What did you learn from this, what we did today? How have you gotten better? What challenges you still, or what did challenge you? Give me a really good explanation here. And then you're going to submit and save and exit, okay? Once you do that, then I would consider this math lesson done for today. There are a couple games on the agenda today. We'll probably look at them tomorrow, but if you want to look at them ahead and you want to play with them, you can. They're just practicing numbers on a number line. One is called Pearl Diver and one is a battleship game. So once you get done with this, make sure that you're caught up from your slides 1 through 6 and this today. So you should be all the way through slide 9 today in order to be ready for tomorrow. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing now.